Ah yes, the one that got away. We've all got one. You fell in love with her in high school, but you couldn't be together because of, well, bad choices that you made. And then a couple years later, she finds you again, gives you a chance despite being way out of your league, and you fall madly in love. She's everything you ever wanted. She's a terrific mother, she's beautiful, she's exotic, she's kind and caring and passionate to everybody she knows, and then one day out of the blue, she breaks up with you. With really no reason given. But it's cool, she's still a great person, she moves on and probably marries like an MMA fighter, they fall madly in love, have some beautiful kids, but it's cool, I mean, it's fine, it's okay. Well, that feeling of loss that you get from the one that got away is the exact same feeling of loss you'll have if you delete anything off of this device before you fully vet out what they do. Hello everybody, my name is Matt, and I up. Thank you, you're too kind. On today's episode of Don't Burn the House Down, I'm going to show you a little bit more in-depth look of my Retroid Pocket 2. I'm going to talk about a little further in-depth the things that I screwed up by deleting a lot of things off of here thinking I was smarter than the developers, and I'll do a little bit more gameplay. I've also had some user requests in my channel to do some additional gameplay on the device as well as to show it on the HDMI output to the TV, so we're going to do that as well. So stick around. Let's talk about the Retroid Pocket 2 in today's episode of Don't Burn the House Down. Let's just get right down to it. When I first reviewed this device, I told you that I deleted a lot of apps off of here. I deleted everything off the memory card, which also deleted the Retroid side of the operating system. I also, unfortunately, deleted a copy of this right here, which is M64 Plus FZ, or Mupin 64 Plus FZ. I also deleted this app up here that's called Dig. I thought, Dig? That must be like a port of Dig Dug. Who needs that? Delete. I was completely wrong in doing so. You see, the M64 Plus FZ that ships on this device is actually a bit of a customized version of that ROM made specifically for this device. And if you delete that thing, you will never, ever, ever get it back. And I mean ever. The one that I've downloaded on here is not entirely compatible with this device, and I have had so many issues getting it running to the point where I had to download a knockoff clone called N64 EMU Pro to use that. You see, N64oid right here doesn't allow you to map this analog stick. Oh, I'm sorry, digital stick. Yes, that's right, you heard me, a digital stick. Thank you to the countless people in my comments who have softly reminded me that this one's an analog stick and this one's a digital stick. Look, if it talks like a duck, quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, it's obviously a f***ing swan. Anyways, where were we? Ah yes, M64 Plus FZ. Do not delete this. Actually, you know what? Don't delete any of the apps off of here until you are 100% comfortable with everything else on this device. Once you get there, delete everything to your heart's content. But if you do a drag and drop on the SD card and delete everything, good luck. Also, on my previous video, I said that I was going to spend most of my time in the Retroid operating system, which is right here, because I didn't like how I had to jump between 10 different emulators to play my other systems on this side. But in that review, I also said that means sacrificing your ability to play Drastic, which plays your Nintendo DS. You also sacrifice some playability on Flycast, which is for Dreamcast. Well, had I not been a ridiculously stupid person, I wouldn't have uninstalled Dig. Dig is a really nice front end for all of your emulators. It shows you all your systems, your genres, your collections, and once you have Dig actually working on your device, you're able to cycle through, just like you are on the Retroid side. Your systems, your games, etc., etc. Once you pick the game that you want to play, it actually pulls up that emulator for you. Dig also downloads all the box art for all the compatible games, and it works really, really well. I dig it, pun intended. Let's just go into Air Cavalry here. You'll notice that as soon as you click on it, it gives you a nice review of the game, which, by the way, it downloads all of this for you. And these are the ROMs that you put on the device. And once you hit play, it pulls up your appropriate emulator, and boom, you're in the game. Now, obviously, any emulator settings that you need to change, they do have to be set within the emulator itself. But once you get like your controls mapped, everything else figured out, all you have to do is use Dig. And then boom, here you are. Everything, all the buttons on here work great. Your A, B, X, Y, just like your Super Nintendo, your L and R paddles, your actual analog stick, or you can use your pad, either way. So that's something that I really like about using Dig as your front end. The only drawback with it is that you do have to kind of hit home and then kind of go back into the app if you want to get anywhere else. But then you can cycle back through. B is back, A is forward. So if you want to use your own ROMs on this device, and you do not want to be stuck in the Retroid side, I would recommend Dig. So far, it is the best front-end emulator that I have found, and it ships on the device. Don't delete it. Use it. What I have been using this device for mainly is for like Super Nintendo, Game Boy, a lot of the older generation games, because they play so well on here. I remember playing Donkey Kong Country for literally hours at a time, and on this device it runs flawlessly. The sound is great, the gameplay is great, the analog stick works really well on here, which obviously the Super Nintendo didn't have one of these. You could use the D-pad if you want to, but I am in love with this analog stick. It works extremely well. Do you have any idea how hard it is to play a game while looking through a camera screen? It's not easy. Another thing that I really enjoy about Dig is how well it interfaces with the existing emulators. So if I click on Nintendo DS, for example, and if I pull up my Super Mario Brothers, which is what I've been playing on, their new Super Mario Brothers, it automatically loads into the save state of where I was before. And I must say, I am in love with the Nintendo DS emulation on here. The one thing I will call out is that this device is not powerful enough to render images in 3D. And on screen here, it's probably really hard for you to understand. I'm turning it down. Jeez. Volume works. It's hard to see the difference in textures on here. The naked eye will pick them up. Unfortunately, my camera cannot. But I will say that the running of Jurassic on here does not feel, or it doesn't look as good as a Nintendo DS. The lines are a little more rigid. They're not as soft and rounded. It's because the 3D rendering just isn't quite there. Now, you can turn on the 3D rendering in the settings, but you take a massive hit to your frame rate. And then your frame skipping kicks in, and next thing you know, the game looks good, but it doesn't play very well, which I am a much bigger fan of playing well than looking good. So as long as you're okay with this not looking as pretty as it was meant to, like I said, to the naked eye, you can absolutely see it. With the camera, maybe not, but I have been really loving the DS emulation on here. PSP emulation is one thing on here that I have had some issues with, and I may need to do some better tweaking in the settings of it, but you can see up here in the frame rate counter, 30 out of 60. If this thing's running at full steam, I would have it at 60 FPS, but I do have frame skipping enabled, so it cuts the FPS in half. It will run at a pretty solid 30, but getting it to 60 is pretty darn tough. And unfortunately, in some games, like Burnout, you just simply can't do it.
Determination, obsession, hope. The fiery emotions illuminate the two souls. Make you suffer.
That's it! Show me an method!
Battle 1. Fight.
You can hear some audio skip here and there as well. So I mean, the game's definitely playable with that frame skip enabled, but it's obviously, you know, like I said in my first video, I'm not going to use PSP on here. I didn't buy this just for PSP, which is probably a good thing, because I would have been disappointed in the PSP performance. Totally playable, but I think a lot of games like the God of War series are going to be next to impossible to emulate on here. And Burnout as well. I could not get Burnout to run at all. It looked like garbage. Alright, little N64 emulation time. Sorry about the dog coming in the doggy door there. Again, I think this is going to run a lot better if you keep that existing emulator, the Movement 64 FZ. This is the one I had to download. Apparently my dog doesn't know if he wants in or out. I don't have an FPS counter on here. I will tell you that it runs pretty well. GoldenEye is pretty tough to emulate. Conker's doesn't work. You know, when I said in my initial review, seriously, my dog has no idea what he wants. When I said in my initial review that I wouldn't be using this just for N64, like I'm not buying it for N64, I stand true to that. That dog. That noise you're hearing is the doggy door. You can hear the audio slow down a little bit, and then speed back up. So again, totally playable, but I'm not going to buy this device for this. And that's a dinosaur. So now on to the HDMI out version of this video. And unfortunately, I'm not cool enough or rich enough to have an HDMI capture card, so what you get is a camera on a tripod sitting on a TV tray aimed at my TV. Enjoy! Well, that was easy. All I did was plug in the cable, it comes right up, and yikes, that resolution is rough. I wonder if there's anything I can do to fix that. Hold on, let me go to the settings of my TV here. Unfortunately, I could not find any settings in the device to make this resolution output a little bit better. So I'm just going to jump into Dig, and I'm going to fire up a couple games here and see how they look. I know that you can Bluetooth to this device and use like an 8-bit do or some sort of other Bluetooth controller. I do have one, it's dead, so I'm just going to see how the casting works on here. Oops. I am noticing, unfortunately, there is some input lag. So watch the screen versus this screen as I hit over. Hopefully that comes through. But as I hit over, there's a millisecond of input lag, and I'm not a huge fan of that. So we'll see if I can play just by watching the TV here, or if that's going to be too much that I can't actually do it. Back into Mario. On the bigger screen, you can really tell the difference on the resolution there, where Mario looks pretty chunky. I will say the delay appears to be a lot better doing it like this, but it's still there. And it's probably going to make for some tricky... Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Oh, geez. Alright, we're going to try a different emulator and see if I can make that a little easier. See if that'll run better on something else, because that's almost unplayable, unfortunately, and that is unfortunate, because the HDMI out is a huge selling point for this system. Let's try an SNES. And apparently it's lost all my SNES games. Interesting. Let's back up. Although it's showing 783 games. There we go. Interesting. Let's go back into the old Donkey Kong country here and see what happens. Yes, there's an autosave. That is one thing I like about these emulators. It says when there's an autosave, and you can just jump right back into it, which is cool. Yeah, unfortunately that input lag it's almost making me motion sick because, you know, when you hit a button you expect something to happen, and the fact that it happens a millisecond late, it's almost like when you're flying in a plane and you can't anticipate the jumps or the bumps. Yeah, unfortunately I can't even play it because of that input lag. So if anybody knows a fix for that, let me know. But aside from just doing this so that people can watch what you're playing, I don't think I'm buying this little system so I can put it up on my TV and just play it. You might want to look for a Raspberry Pi 4 or something like that instead if you want an emulator you can throw up on your TV. It'll definitely look better and it will absolutely run better. So there you have it, folks. Unfortunately, the HDMI out for me is a no-go. If you want to just have other people watching what you're playing, it'll work for that, but the resolution comes through pretty terribly on the TV, and just that little bit of input lag is enough to make me feel almost like the room's spinning right now. So I can't play this on the TV, but I didn't buy it for that. So as I said in my previous review, temper your expectations when you're buying this device. If you're buying it just to cast up on your TV, maybe you'll have better luck with it, or maybe there's a setting that I missed. And if you know what that setting is, please leave me a comment below. But I bought this so that I could play DS, Super Nintendo, Nintendo, because those are the games that I like to play on the fly. I can bust out a level or two at Mario when I'm sitting at the doctor's office, or I can jump in and play a couple levels of Contra if I'm sitting in a waiting room at the kid's school or something like that. So that's why I bought this device. Don't buy this for PlayStation, PlayStation Portable, N64, Dreamcast. Yes, it will do those things, but it's not going to do them well enough that you're going to be thrilled with them. But at 80 bucks, I mean, what do you expect from this little device? For being a retro handheld, it works amazing. But for being a high-powered handheld, unfortunately, there are better options, but they come with a much higher price tag. So that's it, folks. This thing is absolutely worth the coin if you have the right expectations for it. If you have any other things that you want to see on the device, drop me a comment. And as always, please like and subscribe. This is a small channel, and we're definitely building. We're up over 550 subscribers right now, so thank you guys for that. And I appreciate you all being here to watch my silly little I appreciate you all being here to watch my silly little videos. That's what I meant to say. Have a great day. This episode is dedicated to the one that got away, Miss Romanov. Of course she's not watching. You think she plays video games?